Gardening with Miss Gordon. Potatoes.
Hey explorers, Miss Gordon here with you back in the garden. I am getting the ground ready to plant potatoes, and I just wanted to show you guys that I have been spending the last couple minutes digging this long trench. Trench is a fancy word for like a long hole in the ground. So what I've been doing is kind of using the shovel to dig down, and then I've been piling the dirt up on this far side. So you can see there's a lot of dirt that's been mounded up over here. Next week, I am going to have you guys come back, and we're going to plant the potatoes inside the trench, and we're going to pull down some of this dirt that I've mounded up on top of the potatoes. So I'm excited to plant potatoes with you guys next week.
A couple days later.
Hi explorers, Miss Gordon here. I am back to gardening today, and today I'm working on preparing the potatoes that I plan to plant in a couple days. You really have to plan ahead with potatoes because you have to cut them and then let them cure, which is a fancy word for kind of let the outside of the potato harden. So I want to show you really fast. I am going to plant, this is called a russet potato, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these potatoes so that they have at least 2 of these little sprouts coming out of them. So 1, 2, and these sprouts are coming from what people call the eyes of the potato. And if you look, it kind of looks like the sprout is the eyeball, and then just above it is kind of the eyebrow of the eye for the potato. So, if you guys want to watch, I'm going to cut this off and make sure that I have at least 2 eyes. At least 2, maybe more. But I have, with this one, I have 1, 2 eyes. And then I'm going to place it here with the other potatoes I've cut. Each of these potato pieces is going to kind of be like a seed for the potatoes that I'm planting in the ground in a couple days, because again it takes 2 to 3 days for these potatoes to be ready to actually plant. So I'll see you in 2 to 3 days with these potatoes all ready to plant in the ground.
3 days later.
Hey explorers, Miss Gordon here. I am back in the garden working on planting these potatoes. So the potatoes, after we cut them, I let them sit out in a room in my house for about 3 days, and they have cured, which is a fancy word to say that the skin that I've cut is no longer wet. It's now dry and a little bit harder than it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to notice where the sprouts are coming up from the eyes of the potatoes, and I'm going to put them down so that those sprouts are facing up. So let's see here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 potatoes, and you can probably see I'm placing them about 4 finger lengths apart from each other. And again, the sprout facing up. So that's 5. You can count them with me. Let's see if we can get up to 10 together. See if I can find one that has a sprout coming out of it. Where are we? 5, 6. Maybe move that a little bit. 7, 8, 9, and you know this last one. It's gonna be 10. Alright, my goal is to fill this whole trench full of potatoes, just a couple finger lengths apart from each other, and then I'm going to put the dirt on top of it. So I finished placing the potatoes in my trench. Can you guess how many potatoes I planted in this trench? I'll give you a second to think about it. I planted 35 potatoes just now. That was a lot of potatoes, more than I thought would fit in this trench. So my next step is to cover the potatoes with some soil. So remember when I dug out my trench here, I piled up the soil on one side. So now I'm going to use that pile of soil and sprinkle it over the potatoes. And I'm going to kind of break up the soil if it's in big clumps. And I'm just going to pat it again and say, good night, grow well. Alright, this is going to take me a while to cover all of the potatoes that I just planted, all 35. I'll see you in a minute. So I finished covering the potato pieces with soil. Notice that there's still a little bit of a hole here. There's still a trench in the soil, and the reason why I'm doing that is the minute the potato plant starts to come out of the ground and sprout and push out of the soil, I'm going to come back in and cover some more compost, some more really good soil, even this soil, on top of that, so that the potato has to continue to grow up with its green sprouts and then out with the potatoes. I will probably water this sometime today because we're not supposed to get much rain. But after that, I'm going to leave it and just wait for the sprouts to come up. Thanks for helping me plant potatoes, explorers.